High Level is a full CRM and marketing platform, and I've used some of the best in the SaaS industry.
And we are live officially on LinkedIn, YouTube, excuse me, Facebook. We've got Twitch. We've got a couple other channels that our guests put on, and you're going to meet them here in just a second. But just like good old-fashioned Wednesday style, we've got our hot topics and hot guests, and we're going to get right into it. So today we're talking about personal branding, why it matters most. You know, I can talk about that. And I'm especially excited to learn about Reddit marketing because we are hearing more and more about it. And it's a place where I'm not fully comfortable yet. And I don't know if I ever will be, but I think that's the point. But building pipelines and authenticity there. Let's talk about that with our guest. And then SEO, AEO, and AI future strategies for 2025. Go ahead, put in your questions about that topic. And scientific consulting. So, what's science to you all? Let us know in the comments. And growing through cold emails. So just imagine that, using the hypothesis, the scientific method, to go out and create email campaigns. We'll be getting into that. I do like to think of marketing as one big science project that we just get to fail and keep learning at. But before we get into those hot topics and before I bring the guests on, I want to remind you of the newsletter. So go check it out at reveting.com. You can subscribe to the newsletter there. And I also have it on my LinkedIn page. If you go to Jessie Lezak, I made it as like the main button there on LinkedIn, where you can go subscribe to the newsletter because we're sharing recaps of every episode and also letting you know who's going to be coming on. And then talking about, you know, the planning for the Women Wave retreat and my masterclass that's coming up and a whole bunch of other things. So definitely tune in there. We do have my free workbook, which is going to guide the upcoming masterclass, which is on January 30th. I'll get to that here a little bit. We do have Layla in the comments from Cherry Assistant. So Layla, if you wouldn't mind like plugging the masterclass link in the chat, then folks can just click that and go register for the free masterclass. But it'll be guided by this free workbook, and you can scan the QR code to check that out. And speaking of Cherry Assistant, big thanks to Cherry Assistant for their support. So Layla is a virtual assistant with Cherry Assistant, and she's amazing. And I work with several different virtual assistants through Cherry Assistant. And I'm also an affiliate of Cherry Assistant. So Cherry Assistant has basically helped me scale my marketing agency. The way they've done this is by allowing me to feel safe to delegate. So, you know, it used to be me here in the comments doing all the overlays, everything, but I know that I can safely delegate that to Cherry Assistant. Same with the videos that you see posted by Reveting, as well as my clients. I'm obviously very visibly working with BDEX. I co-host on their live stream. So all of their video clips, I get help with from Cherry Assistant. So I would like to help you delegate with a virtual assistant through Cherry Assistant because they help you get aligned with someone who has the skills you need and can work the hours that you're seeking. So definitely scan that QR code and check it out or reach out to me. And then of course there's high level. So we're talking about high level in the masterclass. We're talking about high level in my Taking Up Space program. It is an all-encompassing CRM and marketing automation platform that people are moving to in flocks. And I say people, but businesses. They're moving away from these larger CRMs and going to one that makes more sense. It has more features. It's a little more flexible. They can make changes quicker, and it's way more budget friendly. So try it out for 30 days free. And if you do, I'll give you a month free of my coaching if you reach out to me and send me a DM. So try it out, but you have to try the 30 days free on my high level affiliate link. If you're hearing this on podcast, you can go to reveting.com/high level to try that out. But without further ado, I want to introduce you all to some amazing guests who are doing some great work out there. And I'm going to let them tell you more about that. So welcome to the show. We have Bryan and Nicole joining us. Thank you so much.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, thank you.
Hello, hello.
It's not morning for y'all though, right? Sorry. I'm in Oregon.
It's morning for me.
Okay.
Kinda, yeah. I mean, for part of the country, but it's noon here for me, but I'm still drinking coffee, and I feel like I'm still waking up because we have had the kids home for. Well, there was Martin Luther King Day, and now it's been 2 snow days because it's been, below 0 here in Ohio. But yeah, so it's just like taking me time to like get myself together. But so please be kind with your employees who have kids home for snow days. It's safe. It's so cold out there. If they're out there longer than 15 minutes, they can get frostbite. So, it's the right thing to do. But I digress. Enough about me. We want to hear about you. Please introduce yourself to the audience. If you don't mind, I'm going to put you full screen and put up the 2-minute clock. Let's let you kick us off, Nicole.
Oh, yay. Okay. And so this is entire life, right? So my name's Nicole Bernard. I was born in Washington State, lived there for a long time, and then moved down to Louisiana. So I've lived half of my life in the Northwest and half right outside of New Orleans. So it's a very interesting balance of cultures, if you will. It's been great. I went to LSU, go Tigers, graduated in marketing, started a small business pretty quickly after that. A few years after Hurricane Katrina, we moved back up here to the Cascade Mountains into the Columbia Gorge, ran a business, a farm and brewery for 7 years, really successful. Our neighbors weren't as excited, ended up closing our doors, worked for a marketing agency, and then I branched out on my own again in 2016. So since 2016, I've had a marketing agency where I help business owners who either don't have the time to do it or the desire or the team. And it's been really fun. I've never niched down on an industry because I think being able to take the different tools and strategies and adapt them to the different businesses and their goals is what really makes me excited. So much strategy and creativity at the same time. So yeah, that's about all. I live in Oregon now in the Columbia River Gorge, got 2 kids, puppy dog, and a husband. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
And you did it all in less than 2 minutes, much less than 2 minutes. And Katie Harkins is saying Nicole's farm was the absolute best. So I'm going to ask you to elaborate a little more.
Yeah. Okay. So we grew 40 different varieties of vegetables, and we did a CSA, so a community supported agriculture. We did the farmers markets. I also baked artisan bread every weekend. And then a few years into the farm, we started a microbrewery because we were home brewers, built that. People were able to come visit. We had visitors from around the country. Yeah, it was pretty neat. Chickens, sheep, the whole shebang.
Wow. I was just typing in the comments. Wow. Thanks, Katie, because that's a good plug. If anyone else has any plugs about either of our guests, put them in there because I'm sure that you're not telling us all of the great things about you. But, we want to know, as our audience knows, we like to know, and I told them this pre-show, birth to what brought you to now and all the things we can't find on LinkedIn. So that is a really great example. So thank you so much for sharing all about yourself, Katie. You have such a rich background, and we're lucky to have you here to share about marketing with us. And Dr. Bryan, and how do I say your last name?
Lay. Yeah, it's actually
Lay?
not Lee.
Okay. Well, because there's the Q name in there, the Quoc.
Quoc is my middle name.
Okay,
it's all Vietnamese, so it's just
I love it.
Completely different pronunciation.
Well, you've already started your intro because we want to know, where were you born to what brought you to now in 2 minutes?
Yeah, so I was actually born in California, so I'm pretty much native here. And from there, I went to school at University of California, Irvine, where I studied chemistry. And then I got really, really kind of, I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. So after college, I decided to walk from California to Louisiana. So that took about 6 months. And in that 2,000 miles, I discovered my love for food, mostly because I was eating the same food over and over again. So very nice variation on peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. There's a lot of different ways to do it. And from there, I met my wife, who at the time, was also kind of vagabonding, and we kind of came together. And you know, at some point, I discovered food science, and with that, I decided to go and get my PhD in food science. I graduated in 2020, right in the middle of the pandemic. And at the same time, I wrote my book, 150 Food Science Questions Answered. And from there, I decided, I think it's probably a good time to start doing what I've always wanted to do, which is to run my own business. So I jumped right in, started doing consulting for food companies in the food industry. And I've loved it. I sit here, working 3 days a week and, on my own time. And I'm so glad that I could do that. So, yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. You two have a rich background. I mean, look at that. You have a PhD and in food science, which I think we're going to be hearing more and more about. I mean, we're seeing it more and more, I think, already on social media and in the press a little bit. But man, there's just been a lot of issues, but I digress. We want to know where everyone's tuning in from. Put it in the comments. What do you do? What are your questions? Like, keep us honest, but we're going to get right into the conversation. But I want to keep the audience alive here. So put those thumbs to work if you're on your phone here and talk to us. Tell us who you are. Introduce yourself. This is a safe place to sell too. So put a link to your business. Hello, thank you, Uzair. Like, tell us a little more. Please share something about SEO strategies. We're going to get into it. We're actually starting with personal branding, which I know for a fact can help your SEO when you have a LinkedIn page, a Facebook page, a Pinterest page, an Instagram page, a TikTok page, all the things, because people are out there searching. And those engines are search engines themselves. But I digress. Personal branding, why it matters most. Could you kick us off on this topic, Nicole?
Yeah. Yeah. So speaking of what kind of piggybacking on what you were just saying, I heard a stat the other day that 30% of all searches are brand specific. So people are thinking of brands and literally putting them into when they search for SEO, for whatever they're trying to problem they're solving. But so that is great. Like, it does tie to branding, but then what also goes so much deeper is like the connection you make with people, because, feelings equal memories, right? Like, if you make someone feel a certain way, they're going to remember that. And because it's such a crowded online space, that is really what helps people and brands stand out. Like, you can create those memories with the people and they will keep coming back, and then they'll share that, with their friends and family as well. And people like to buy from people that they trust. And so that is another big issue with especially the amount of content and influencers and things like that. People really want to connect. And I feel like we've had that swing back come since the pandemic. People are really searching out kind of genuine connections. So just kind of that overall, trust recognition helps with your SEO as well. But yeah, that will help you stand out in a crowded market. And I think a lot of people aren't sure how to kind of work on their personal brand. And so I just realized that found out about these called brand archetypes. You might have heard of this, Jesse. But yeah, I thought it was really interesting. And it was pretty neat going through the different types. Like, there's outlaws. So that would be like Harley Davidson or something, explorer, like Patagonia. And so it was really neat to kind of work through and see for me how I could relate my brand to these different types that I didn't even realize. So that kind of might help if people are not quite sure where they're wanting to go or how to start with their personal brand.
I haven't heard about these archetypes. Can you tell us a little more? Like, so do you mind sharing what archetype you are and why? And like, I don't know.
Yeah. So the one that I connected with the most was kind of the explorer. I don't have a Patagonia brand, but I like on my Instagram, a lot of different things. It's more about like exploring to find out, where I'm going with my business, and personally as well. I share a lot more of that too, because I've found that that's easier for me to connect with people. So running and, all the different kind of things I do in my daily life. But yeah, like I said, there are 12 and I'm still kind of new to them. So like I said, the outlaw was like Harley Davidson. A hero would be somebody like Michael Jordan. Explorer would be like Patagonia. But yeah, there's 12. And so it's really interesting to Google and kind of work through. There's a bunch of like quizzes and stuff you can do.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, well, I'm gonna have to look that up. We've got a couple comments here. One is how to grow my brand. I'm gonna say like just keep tuning in. We'll keep trying to like bring this back to a basic level as well, remembering that people are just like wanting to start off, like grow their brand. But also we got Bill here from Cleveland, Ohio. What's up, Ohio? I'm in Westerville, right outside Columbus, but running a full service agency focusing on manufacturing, home service, and professional service. Excited to hear your perspective on the various topics. So anything you want to say in regard to those industries in specific to personal branding to either of you?
Yeah, I would say, again, especially with manufacturing and home services, things like that, you kind of almost you want to get personal with people because you're going to be, helping them with their different things that they want around their home and different things like that. So again, I would just kind of go back to, what is your messaging? Like who is your buyer persona or your ideal client, and what are they struggling with? Like, what do they connect with? What are their ages? And kind of pull out this whole hypothetical customer and kind of really start to create content where they are and what kind of content they like to connect with, and go from there and kind of keep track of your analytics, see what they're engaging with, what they're working, what they're liking, and you can create more like that.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for walking us through personal branding. So Dr. Lay, tell us about your personal brand a little bit. And as you do, get us into Reddit marketing. But first, I want to hear your reaction to everything she was saying, because I obviously agree 100% that personal branding builds trust. And that is what makes it easier when you get on the phone with a potential client. And I've never really done cold calling. I started off a show before I was really selling, so I built an audience, and now I'm going back in my CRM and calling people who've been attending the show, and it's so much easier than if I were to just call someone cold. But your personal brand, it really matters. I'm just curious of your take on all of this before we get into Reddit marketing.
Yeah, I actually appreciate that. And Nicole, I love the topic that you brought up with these brand archetypes because my wife is a psychotherapist, so we're really big on archetypes, Carl Jung, and, a lot of the psychology behind like, who you are and how that connects with, how you show up in the world. And, I was just Googling this and I was thinking, I've gone through a lot of different iterations, like I probably started off like more of an explorer because of my experience doing the walk across the country. And then I parlayed it into more of like the creator and like making things and sharing that. And I think that's kind of where I've landed nowadays. But it seems like an ongoing exploration. Like you're always trying to reinvent yourself, or even my wife likes to say that there's different parts in you that talk to each other, and some of them become more, a little louder as you age or you mature, and some become quieter, and sometimes you have to cultivate a little bit of different aspects. And I love that. I love the whole concept. So thanks for bringing that up. I'm gonna definitely geek out on this for a while.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. It is. And I love too that you talk about evolving through different ones, because I think that's so true. And when I work with clients too, even, with their marketing or their website, like I kind of, once a year, I'm like, just revisit everything. Is it still relevant? Is that still you? Is that still your brand? Are these still your ideal customers? So I love too that you brought that up, because yeah, we're always evolving, right? Or hopefully,
Yeah,
at least.
absolutely. Hopefully, right? Yeah, so I'll segue that into what I've done with Reddit, which has a lot to do with these sort of archetypes because I've definitely showed up in different ways. For me, it started off as more of like a hobby. You just kind of spend some time on a social media network and you kind of learn the ropes. This was when I was in graduate school, and I had I had a lot of free time when I was running experiments, so I just like write things, answer some questions, and then over time, I got really involved. I now help run one of the subreddit groups. It's called R Food Science, and that has taught me a lot is I've learned a lot about how people respond, users respond. I've learned about managing, other creators and moderators, and it's so fascinating because, people come in, these professionals, who have really busy lives, and they want to contribute. They want to share their perspective. And now, not every perspective is necessarily, you have to do some moderation on that. But it's really cool to learn. And from that, I've definitely crafted an image of myself. Certainly I show up a certain way on these groups, and over time I've learned that if you share a lot about good stuff, in my industry, the food industry, I share a ton. I don't hold back. I share a lot about my personal life as well as my professional life, on top of like scientific, little tidbits. Like if someone has a question about like why do starches do this when you heat it up, and then I go in there and I just do a nice little search and give some like serious feedback, and people appreciate that, and over time you become the go-to person. And has been really interesting is because I posted so much, and I put my name out there so often, that Google is now just like picking up all these posts that I do, and that was not intentional. I actually didn't know very much about search engine optimization, and I actually avoided it for a long time. But it turns out that in some recent years, there's been some changes in terms of how Google, reviews different posts, and Reddit just is exploding. There's so much going on, and our subgroup keeps growing, and I'm like, that just keeps putting my name out there, and it was not all intentional. I mean, it really did start from a genuine curiosity of who are these people and why are they hanging out here, and why are we talking, and what's really driving a lot of their motivation. And I've learned quite a bit about people loving to give. I think that like sharing seems to be such a huge part of these communities, and if you do it in an authentic way where you're showing up as your own personal self, no filter, no, like, I've said like the worst things that have happened in my life. I don't. There's nothing to hide here. Like you can look
Yes.
everything up about me, right? Like I exist on the internet, and that creates such a beautiful relationship with people because they go, oh, like this person shows up, so like maybe he does have something to say about consulting on food science, right? Like it's like it becomes sort of like this add-on, this like little note where like people actually go to me and reach out and say, hey, like, could you help me with my business?
Yeah, absolutely. That's so incredible. So tell us, what's your Reddit handle, or do you mind sharing?
Sure. Yeah, it's Upsalt OS. So UPSALTOS, and I'll just type it in, but like it came out of because I was really obsessed with salt. Like it was like I
That's so
just had
good.
this like weird fascination for salt, and then it evolved into like I started getting really into umami, and then there's no
I
like
love it.
particular reason why I chose that username. I just, in graduate school, I just really like that. So now people just know me as that. And so whenever
Of
someone's like,
course.
oh, I have a question, some other Reddit poster will be like, calling Upside OS. I'm like, oh, hi. Like, I guess I'm showing up today and answering your question. So it's really cool. I think it's a pretty remarkable platform. I really like it, but it does take a lot of time to understand, and it takes a while to like, each community is so different. Everyone has their own rules.
Mm-hmm.
I've switched over
It
to
takes a
another
little
community.
gumption.
Yeah, it
It's
really
scary
does.
there.
It's scary. People will tear you down if they don't,
Can
if
you
they even
help us
perceive a
build
little.
some confidence to post and engage on Reddit? Because people are mean there.
Yeah, I know. I think it's like, you know, I think me growing up in the, as a teenager, I'd spend a lot of time in different online forums. And it's sort of the same kind of Wild West where like you just have to kind of bulldoze people in a way. You have to kind of be a bigger person, and people will just say comments, and you just learn to sort of shrug it off. I'm by all means, I'm not great at it, but there's definitely times when people, question my credentials, or like they have completely different points of view about very specific things like food safety, or different topics about nutrition. And I've had to really narrow down this part of me that says, like, I am an expert, and I can speak like an expert, and can also be respectful like an expert, even if other people are not. So and it helps when people support me. I think that's when I started to learn, like, oh, like, I'm not just posting in the void or anything like that. It's mostly, there are people who have similar perspectives, and it's so great to see people come in and even defend me in certain arguments. So that's cool.
That is cool. Oh, and I mean, you have a PhD, so you at least have that to kind of stand by. But yeah, I mean, it shouldn't matter. We're all entitled to our own opinion. So I guess just like go on out there and do it a little bit. Nicole, I'm sort of curious of your take on Reddit marketing, since this is our topic at hand, and building pipelines with authenticity. So in personal branding, I mean, it's just another social platform, right? I know I'm like a little terrified of it myself. Fortunately, I don't think you can live stream on Reddit just yet. That's what we mostly help our clients with, is live stream. Can you?
You can, but it's tricky because it doesn't speak with everyone. So you have to do it natively
Shoot,
inside
now I'm
the
gonna have to
platform.
research that.
I've never done it. I'm like, no thanks. Like, that's like, I thought it was a little scary to just comment, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
people is like, that's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, I've never really used it. I mean, I use it for research purposes, but I'm just like a lurker. Like, I don't even know if I have a handle. Like, I just Google things when I'm trying to do some research for different projects. But yeah, so I'm gonna have to try and jump in there, but I'm kind of nervous now.
I know, same. But with all of that being said, we want to hear from you in the comments. Like, what are your questions and thoughts? So looks like we've got something more from Bill here. He says, Bryan, have you found success developing your business through Reddit?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, like, I've really, it's just been a growing source of revenue. In the beginning, I didn't think much of it, and it was just sort of a hobby social media place that I would hang out and blow some steam off. But in the last like 2, 3 years, people will direct message me, or like I said, people will bring me into the comments about someone that's running a business and wanting to do something in food science. And I'm like, yeah, okay, sure, I'll provide value. And that's the thing. I think that's the key. Is like, I start with providing value. I'm not thinking like, oh, this person's gonna be a client or anything like that. But over time, people just kind of keep coming back, and they'll find my posts. They'll Google my name, or they'll Google food science consulting, and my post shows up. And then they'll, go to my website and be like, I found you on Reddit. I'm like, I didn't even know I had that. I wrote that like 4 years ago. So it takes a long time, and it's not, unfortunately, you can't think of it like, like within a year, I'm going to get results. It really didn't work that way. It does take a long time, and it's really more like, you can't even expect that it'll do anything for you. I've noticed that there are definitely people who use it for business. And it can be, if you're not authentic and you don't build up sort of that, I guess, social capital amongst users, even if it's anonymous. Like, I've learned people's names, like, over time, like, people open up and they share a lot with you. And I know exactly who this person is, their username, and I can go to them. I can call them up on the phone. Like, these are real people. Like, it's just really remarkable. When you start with authenticity and vulnerability, people will return to the same. But you can't expect it. You can't really expect it. It doesn't work that way.
I love that. I love that you're okay with the consistency it takes and the compound effect to build that social capital. I love that term too. One of my favorite terms. But yeah, just so interesting. Now I'm like, should I go over there? Like, I don't know. They've got live streaming apparently, but uh, with that, I'm going to give us a pause. Wait, we've got one more comment from Bill. He says it's very new to me, so it's nice to understand how it works. Is your approach more organic, or do you plan content month to month? It also sounds like giving value in the comments is an authentic way to engage. I'm guessing that like planning stuff ahead of time might be too inauthentic for Reddit.
Yeah, unfortunately, like, and I admit I spend a little too much time on Reddit. My wife is like looking over my shoulder, like, what are you, what are you up to? I'm like, I'm posting on Reddit. She's like, oh my gosh, what's play with the dogs, like do something, like go outside. And so, it's really, it really has to be kind of in the moment, which makes it really challenging. But I think I've learned a cadence as far as, when people start posting. There's different times a day that people post. And then you really learn like, oh, these communities are really active and these are the types of questions they're going to ask. So, I've developed a system for searching for specific comments. And I just go at it. Like don't hold back. I'm just like, blah, 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 find this person, blah, 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 blah. Like I like things that you could probably pay me for, people usually do. I just share it
You
because
just share it. Just
at the end of
give.
the day, like there's no reason to hold it back.
And I like that you mentioned it's all about giving. And I think that like that should be kind of a new way with business anyway, is like people want to try things for free. They want to like get a little taste before they like sign up for your software. They want to see if they can integrate their stuff. They want to like work with you a little bit, which is why I'm doing a free master class for an hour next Thursday, January 30th, where I'll just do like a brief overview of everything I go over in my free workbook that you can also check out. But anyway, yeah, that's the QR code to my workbook. Real quick, I want to share a little bit more with you all about Cherry Assistant before we get into topic 3, which is SEO, AEO, and AI. So start plugging in your comments and questions about SEO, AEO, and AI and future strategies for 2025. But in the meantime, consider delegating.
This is Mike, also known as Clean with Mike on Twitter. Mike hired a virtual assistant from Cherry Assistant about 2 years ago. Now he has a $50K per month business, fully managed by a remote operator in South Africa. His VA from South Africa does the following: closing inbound leads on the phone, Yelp and Google and Facebook, manages his CRM and Go High Level, deals with rescheduling, cancellations, any issues, hires and manages the cleaners, and sends them daily reports and updates. Mike has a fully cash flowing business managed by a remote operator for only $8 an hour. You can also hire a US equivalent worker in the Philippines, South Africa, Latin America for a fraction of the cost with Cherry Assistant. Be like Mike and grow your business with offshore staff.
So this is just some of the stuff that they do. But yeah, click the QR code there. It has my affiliate code. We can also drop the affiliate code in the chat for people to just click on. But try them out. Give them a call and see if you can get some help with some of your sales, customer support, data entry, whatever it is that is keeping you back. Where'd my camera go? But let's keep getting into it. We've got another hot topic, but before we do, I want to remind you of High Level as well. We've got a lot of sales and marketing people here. You don't need to spend 5 figures on a CRM these days that is fully functional and capable and even equipped with AI. Check out High Level. It's what I use. It's what I coach on. Get a 30-day free trial. I've already promised I'd give you 1 month free coaching if you sign up for the free trial. So I'll offer that for this month. And if you want to just use that QR code, you can also go to reveting.com/high level. And up until February, end of February, to give ourselves a little more time, you can get 1 month free if you get on a 30-day free trial with my affiliate link on High Level. Then you get 1 month free in my coaching program. So we meet 3 days a week and we're coaching on High Level. We're building landing pages. We're helping people have their own workbooks, their own master classes. So me having a master class on Thursday was actually an inspiration so that I had a template to give people so they could build a master class. So this is all about you taking real marketing action on High Level. So I digress. Check out High Level. Let's get into our topic 3, which is SEO, AEO, and AI. So Nicole, I'm going to pass this one back over to you. And we've got a lot of acronyms there. So could we
We do.
start there with the basics on some of these acronyms?
Yes. Well, okay. So SEO is search engine optimization, but it's also kind of morphing into search everywhere optimization. The trends that we're seeing are that people aren't just, it's never been like a linear line from when they find you to perhaps they convert to whatever the goal is you're pushing them to, but it is even more now dismantled because people are, maybe typing something into Reddit and then they will go and find your website, or they'll go to Instagram and they'll look, and maybe they'll get on your email list and then they'll eventually buy. So it's kind of, there's not really a as direct path. So it's harder to see a little bit. So the like search everywhere optimization is the way to, kind of optimize everything. But the good news is it does follow a lot of the search engine optimization best practices. So under the big umbrella of SEO is, your technical. So that would be like your website, like how fast is it? Are there broken links? Like the overall performance of it, that was Google's core update in, I think it was either last year or the year before. So they really put a big emphasis on how like user friendly your website is. So that's one aspect. And then your on-page SEO. So that's where like individual pages of your website, or if you have a blog that has new content going up, because Google does like fresh new content. That's kind of like a checklist on the back end, like an alt description for your image, your meta description. So that's the little blurb that pops up, in the search results, things like that. And then your backlinks. So that would be other websites linking back to your website, which would help with, your personal brand as well, or public relations. Say you get featured in Forbes or something and they link back, or you're a podcast guest, things like that. Or even maybe something like this, if we're live on podcasts and a link back to our websites. That really helps, it shows credibility that somebody wants to link back to your website, all that good stuff. And then the last one would be locals. That's more like hyper localized for like a mom and pop jewelry shop in a town, like that's where you're going to show up on Google Maps, things like that. But total online businesses, it's still helpful. You want your Google listing and you want to keep it optimized and you want to keep your profile built out and posts and all that. But using all 4 of those across the board is really going to help your search engine optimization as well as your search everywhere optimization. And then that also kind of parlays into the AEO, which is answer engine optimization. So that's like our ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, all of that. So people are going into search engines, into the AI kind of chats not more so than Google, but it is rising. And so they're able to pull your information when people are using that as opposed to like Googling something. So the good news is if you are following those best practices guidelines of SEO, that will help with your search everywhere and your answer optimization as well as voice search. So voice search is becoming more and more popular as well too with, Alexa and Siri and all of that. So it sounds kind of overwhelming because there's a lot of places to put it, but if you're kind of following that framework, that's a great way to be able to do all of those. For now, I'm not sure if things will change in the future, but that's everything that I've been like researching and going to conferences and stuff like that. So that is kind of, like I said, I know it's pretty broad, but if you can hone in on those kind of 4 pillars underneath the SEO umbrella, that's going to be super, super helpful.
I love everything that you just explained. It seems like such a modern approach to SEO. So newsflash, SEO is not dead, even though ChatGPT is out there.
I know. Yeah, it's not at all.
It's not. And there's like search everything optimization. I quoted you in the comments saying that because I thought it was so powerful. Someone was asking about off-page SEO and backlinking. Is that still relevant? Can you talk about that a little bit?
It is definitely. Yeah, there's a few different, there's a lot of different ways you can do it. That would kind of be maybe like a public relations kind of push. You can pitch reporters. There's a few different tools. Help a reporter out. That's kind of oversaturated, but Quoted, WOTED. That is a great one. I've gotten clients in Newsweek, Bustle, US News and World Report, and it's reporters that are looking for like they have queries, and so you can respond and pitch yourself, or for me, I pitch clients, and it's been great. They get backlinks back to their website. They also get, that little social proof of, a lot of times it'll go on their social media as well, so they can share it. So you're getting, brand awareness, credibility, and as well as backlinks, and also guesting on podcasts. That's another great way. There's a few different groups on Facebook that are always looking for guests, and so again, you're going to build awareness getting in front of someone else's audience, and then you typically get a link back to your website, as well as usually some social media stuff. So maybe thinking of stuff like that to get different backlinks to your website.
I love that. Yet again, such modern approaches to SEO. And thank you for sharing that with us and for going around to all those different trade shows, like you said, and learning things and staying on top, because it really does show, like, I haven't heard a lot of those things. I would love to hear from people in the comments. What more questions do you have on SEO, AEO, and AI, or any comments, questions, ideas?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Nicole.
Oh, and I was going to say, I didn't get to my AI talking points. They're at the bottom of my little sheet. So anyway, just a few things about AI. Like, same thing, like they've been talking about that a lot. There's such an oversaturation of people just having all of their content written by AI. So make sure that you're still putting your human voice, your personal brand into it, because Google will penalize. They do penalize if they see that it's all AI written, because they want, unique content. And I think AI is great. Like, I do use ChatGPT a lot for ideas, for analyzing data, things like that, but not writing my content, although it would be amazing because I'm such a slow writer, but it's not really me. But I love getting the ideas from it, because it's sometimes like I wouldn't have thought of stuff like that. And so I also use Blaze AI. That helps me create social media captions, as well as like schedule it into that. And it also does images. And so it's really super affordable. I'm not even an affiliate or anything. I'm pretty new to it. But it's a great way to be able to knock out a lot of content, but also with that AI, but also with my brand voice, because you can give it a lot of information to look over, like that I've written, or my website, things like that. So that's really cool too. So it can help save a lot of time, but still don't like totally, take it off your plate and give it to AI.
Such an important reminder. And yeah, that's like one of the biggest things with personal branding. Like, we want to use AI, but like we gotta, like, you can use it, but like you have to edit it and you have to make it human. And guest posting, yes. But like, such a great point. Thank you so much for making sure that you covered on AI. I want to go back to everything real quick and just do a real quick recap. But also part of this is just future strategies for 2025. So, before we transition into our last topic on scientific consulting and going through cold emails, could you just do, like, for future strategies, what's our checklist? What's the most important stuff we should do? If you gave us like 3 bullets on each: SEO, AEO, and AI, Nicole.
Yeah. Okay. So first I would start with an audit. There's a few different tools. I use Uber Suggest by Neil Patel, and he's the one I get a lot of my information from, because he's just like amazing. So Google him too while you're at it. But yeah, do an audit. It'll give you your grade SEO wise, and it'll also tell you what you need to work on, like specifically, like it'll point out pages and what needs to be done. So I would start there, make sure your technical is good, make sure your personal branding is still relevant, as we talked about evolving earlier. And then also too, on your website, if you are doing content, because there's so, like, say you have a blog, and there's so much content out there, a really good strategy is to go back and reevaluate and update your content. So say you have like a blog from 2010, like maybe update to the new year, anything that's changed, update that in the content, update the meta description. And if you could take off the timestamp, that would be good too. Then that way you won't kind of have to worry about updating the times all the time. And then, yeah, third, I would probably, again, kind of brainstorm maybe some PR ideas, whether that's trying to guest on podcasts, or if that's trying to pitch, different editors, maybe with content ideas that you have, and also responding to a lot of those reporter queries, either through Quoted, or there's another one, SOS, They send out daily emails. So there's a lot of opportunities out there. And then all of that well-rounded, that would be the best strategy. And, using AI too as well to kind of guide you on maybe thinking of like how your strategy should be and your personal branding, any content ideas. Those would be like my top 4.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. And Quoted, I don't know, I'm guessing maybe I even found both of you there, but I also love Quoted for helping to book guests, because I not only have Wednesday, but of course it's my flagship show, and I help other businesses go live, and some of them we help find guests for their show as well. So getting 2 guests a week on this show plus guests for my clients, Quoted has been amazing, and I also am not affiliate there, but I should probably reach out. Yeah, be sure to keep plugging in those comments, questions, concerns, whatever your thoughts are, because we're going to move into science, the science of consulting. So actually the topic is science consulting, growing through cold emails. Could you take it away on this one, Bryan? And before you do, I also want to give you a chance to sort of react on everything that Nicole just shared, once again, with SEO, AEO, and AI. Could you kick us off?
Yeah, definitely. I love the point of like keeping it human and keeping it real, just because like I actually work really hard to keep everything away from AI, and that the only reason I do that is because it still doesn't know everything about scientific queries. And there's a lot of misinformation, and it's very there's a whole subreddit post where people make fun of scientists who post clearly AI generated information, and it's it definitely breaks down the trust really quickly. So you really do have to kind of bring in that human element. And I love this sort of answer engine optimization or answer everywhere optimization, because that's I never had a word for that, but that's how I feel. I'm just like answering everything and anything, and at some point it all kind of trickles back down. But it's a hard strategy. It's really challenging, and I think it's certainly not, you can't there's no short-term version of it. I mean, you got to put in the time, and you got to put in the effort, but it pays dividends if you're willing to stick it out, for sure.
Exactly. Totally. But yeah, once you get that ball rolling, it's awesome. But it takes a little while to nudge it. So
but
it's worth it.
Absolutely. Very cool. But in any case, so as far as actually in terms of everything, I found, and this was more of an early thing, but nowadays I don't do so much of this, but cold emailing seems to work really well, because as long as you're really personable, this is something that I discovered, which is definitely like talking a lot more about the person that you're emailing. I've done a lot of research on a lot of the founders and CEOs that I reach out to, and I learn a lot more about their business, and that definitely pays dividends, because again, there's that human element and that you include in the email. Congratulate them, talk about how their company has impacted you. Just a lot of different things that you can do to connect with a human being. But remembering it's still a human being, even if you're, at the end of the day, you're still pitching something. And for me, I think that's really important, because these are people that I interact with, and this is a community of scientists and science involved individuals. So there's sort of a mutual respect there, and I like being able to do that. When I first started off my consulting business, pitching to startup food companies, startup biology companies, biotech companies. And it's, and then there was sort of like a fun little approach that I was learning, which is I would send out an email, or send out a group of emails, and then, I'd collect some of the data and be like, okay, what worked, what didn't work, and make like little variations. And it reminded me of this. This is clearly the nerd coming out from me, but there's a method, in biology, where you mutate some of the cells, and then you like throw them into an environment where they have to survive. And that's how I felt. I was like, I'm gonna mutate some of these emails and just like play around with them, change a few things, and then let them all out, and then see which ones survive and which ones get, an email back, but maybe it's not, it's maybe it doesn't build a relationship or doesn't build a potential consulting relationship. And then the ones that do, it's like I landed on that. That's like natural selection at its best, right? Like now I have an email that I can use as a template, right? But in the beginning, it's just like you're just kind of doing all these different modifications and learning, oh, like this little thing does work, but maybe I can try a different way. So
That's incredible. So I didn't think about the scientific approach in that way in terms of like doing research on the individuals that you're reaching out to. So I'm curious on that note, have you used any technology? Like I've heard people doing some pretty amazing things with like clay.ai or how are you doing that at scale?
I'm not doing it at scale.
Oh,
I think
okay.
that's what
Tell
makes it
us
really
more.
challenging. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I think luckily the ticket prices of a lot of my consulting kind of helps mitigate a lot of the time spent. I'm slowly learning how to teach other people to do it and then having them work with me. But it's a slow process. I think the scaling aspect, that's always going to be a challenge. How do you scale human interaction, right? And for me, like I've never had much success with AI tools. Maybe it's because I just am not on the ball with a lot of that. I take after my mom, who's like very technology adverse. So she always just was like, pick up the phone, go on the ground, like reach out to people, do marketing with flyers, like things like that. And it's just that kind of got embedded in me because I was like, that was a time when email became big and then you got the internet and she was, nope, not doing it because I know this works and I'm really good at it. So that's kind of what I've taken my inspiration from.
Yeah, I hear you there. There is something that's never going to go away about just good old fashioned one-on-one, like humans looking up other humans and reaching out to other humans and being human and like meeting in person, like at trade shows, like Nicole was talking about. So yeah, no, thanks for explaining that. What's your take on sort of the scientific approach to growing through cold email? Do you do any cold email at all, Nicole?
Not really, but I can tell you on end, I get a lot of people inquiring about being on my podcast, and the ones that do take up just doesn't even take a ton of time to like pull out a detail or different things like that. I can tell they put their homework in so much easier. Like it's so relatable. And I'm like, yes, I would love to have you on. And then sometimes it's like not my name that they do, and so it's like okay, and we're all trying to do whatever, and so it's just you can tell when somebody really puts a human aspect and puts a little bit of time. It doesn't even have to be like a ton. Yeah, those stand out for sure.
Yeah, I would agree. Don't you agree, Bryan?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, of course.
Certainly. It's something that you have to keep in mind, and all these the smallest error can tank an entire campaign.
That's true. Especially if you have a small TAM or total addressable market where you're like reaching out to like certain companies and certain people at certain companies. But I digress. We got to get to the guru of the week. Ooh, ooh. And since October, I feel like I've had this like persistent cold. There's this weird pressure in Ohio, but yeah, it's been freezing here all week. I think I mentioned earlier schools have been canceled because it's like 0 or below. But we've got the guru of the week. I'm going to put them on the screen in good old fashioned Wednesday style and step on out for you to take it away.
Yeah, I didn't know who's going to go first, but yeah, I'll go first. Deb Mitchell's mine. She is a marketing person and a community manager, and I just really love her. You can feel her passion and her energy behind it, and she shares a lot of different fun. Like I'm such a marketing nerd. I love seeing all the different stats and different predictions and things like that. And I do think growing communities is going to be a really big thing in 2025. So I love what she shares about what she's learning in that too. So.
Yeah, definitely. I've got Joe Gilder who he does a lot of YouTube, and his approach has always been just being really real and offering a lot of value. And I love the videos that he puts out. And when you reach out to him, he's very easy to connect to. So I definitely he has his niche, and it's really cool to see what he's doing. So I keep an eye on him.
Sweet. Let's check them out.
I love that. And I was just tagging both of them in the comments, which I was saying, but I was muted. But if you could tag them in the comments too and show them some love and go follow them, because of course, if our guests think that they're inspirational, then you might think they're inspirational too. But thank you both so much for coming on the show. It's been an absolute privilege to talk to you and learn from you about these topics that are important to you. So appreciate you walking us through them. But before we go, we still have 2 minutes. So I want to leave you both with one to tell listeners a little bit about yourself, your business. What do you do? Who do you serve? And if they think that you could serve them, how could they find you, Nicole?
Yeah, my website is nb.marketing.com. That's a good place to start. That'll show you, what we offer. There's also a link to the podcast as well as the community that goes along with the podcast. So if you're looking for networking and other awesome supportive business owners, that works too. And if you're looking for someone to help with your marketing services or just kind of coach you through what to do, we do that as well.
That is incredible. Thank you so much for sharing. And also, if you could do the same, Dr. Bryan Lay, we would love to hear, who do you serve? How do you serve them? And if you could serve them, where could they find you?
Yeah, so I'm a food scientist by training, so a lot of the work that I do is, scientific advisory. If you got a formulation or if you got food safety issues and you're a company in the food business, that's me. I'm there for you. I'm like a food scientist mercenary for hire. So you can reach me at my name, so bryanquoc.com, or if you type in consulting food scientist or food science consultant, you can pick me out of the top 5 of the links on Google. So
That's incredible. Well, thank you so much to both of you for sharing knowledge today and for showing up. Thank you to our audience for showing up. Big thanks to Cherry Assistant. Don't forget to go try to delegate, and you can pause the video and check out that QR code, or go to reveting.com/high level, or check out this QR code to get 30 days free on High Level. And I'd be happy to help you get set up in my coaching program. So if you sign up for that, don't forget you also get 1 month free on my coaching program. So just reach out to me or I'll see that you sign up. But thank you so much again to our guests. Next week, we have 2 more hot guests, Kathy Coder and Chris Adams, who are both coming on. Kathy is a digital marketer and YouTube expert, and Chris is the CEO of the Ellis Adams Group. So go follow them, start to learn about them, because you're going to get to meet them here next week. But thank you again, Nicole and Bryan. It was really lovely getting to meet you. I'm going to go ahead and close us out with our outro video. Bye, everyone.
Thanks.
all right, thank you, Jesse.